Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here. My area of expertise is school administration. I was a science teacher. I had taught biology and chemistry, rose up through the ranks of school administration to department head, principal, and headmaster. And when I took over as headmaster at Holy Name High School in the year 2001, the energy bill was astronomical. We are a small, private, Catholic, coeducational school, and when we are paying $185,000 a year in electricity, it was astounding. We had always been involved with being careful of our resources and trying to be good stewards of God's creation. But we needed to do more. Our school was built in 1967 when electrical energy seemed to be the answer. And so the building was all electric. That's why the astounding energy bill. We had looked at other alternatives over the years. We had looked at solar. We have a flat roof. The roof has been there since the building was built in 1967, needs to be replaced, so it didn't make sense to start putting up solar panels. We looked at gas, we looked at changing to oil, but when you have an all-electric building, it is difficult to make those changes. And so wind seemed to be the answer. In fact, our football team always used to say, don't let the other team know how windy it is up on Flanagan Field where we play football, because that was always a silent positive factor. So wind seemed to be something to look at. I first approached WPI, and I could not give enough praise to WPI for the help that they provided to us. They have a program for their juniors. It's called the IQP, and some of their students previously had come to Holy Name and done their project with me when I was a science teacher, so I knew about it. I contacted one of our own alumni who was also a graduate, asked him if I wrote up the proposal, could we put it on the IQP project, because we needed to know, first off, were we a good site for a wind turbine? And I had no way of knowing that. As I say, my area of expertise was academics. So we did that, and I waited over a year, and nobody called. And I was starting to get discouraged. And one day I picked up the phone, and a young man said to me, Mrs. Riordan, my name is Hans Jensen, and I'm from WPI. And I knew that was my answer. Hans came, met with me, put together a team, 3 other students, and Professor Alexander Emanuel from WPI. They did outstanding work for us. They did all the preliminary work that is necessary for a project of this magnitude. They worked with us for 6 to 9 months. They did all of the preliminary work, including constructing a Met tower with an anemometer on the top of our school, because they could not find one that met the requirements for the city of Worcester, so they built one. They were outstanding. I could not praise WPI enough for what they did and what they provided for us. At the end of their study, they suggested that we were indeed a site that could support a wind turbine. And they had done not only the scientific studies, they did regulatory studies, they did the financial analysis for us, and they gave me a proposal which recommended that at that point I hire a wind consultant, once again, out of my area. I asked them who I would contact to find wind consultants, and they put me in touch with Carter's organization. We contacted them. They gave me a list of wind consultants in the New England area. After going through what projects they had worked on, where their projects were located, I selected SED out of Ontario, New York. And the reason I selected SED was the fact that they were in the final stages of putting a wind turbine up on Jiminy Peak in the western part of Massachusetts. And I was interested in someone that knew the regulatory laws in Massachusetts. I did not want to waste time because to me, paying all this money in electric cost was just really difficult. So I wanted someone that knew the way we would have to go about this in Massachusetts. Unfortunately, the price of hiring a wind consultant fell well out of the range of the budget of a small Catholic school running on tuition. But I was able to secure a grant from the Sisters of St. Anne, which were the founding nuns of our school. And their foundation in Canada gave me a grant that allowed me to hire SED. Once they came on board, they actually put together a proposal, a construction grant proposal, using all the information and all of the data from the WPI students, and submitted it to the Massachusetts Trust, Carter's group. We were very, very fortunate. We were given a $575,000 grant, a $575,000 construction grant. I believe that is the largest that they were giving at that time. It certainly was the largest grant that Holy Name High School had ever received. But at that point, we were off and running. We were so excited. We knew we had a lot of work ahead of us. The consultant, I think, is a key, because it has to be somebody or some group that is going to work intimately with you. There are so many processes to go through, both at the state, local, national level. We knew that there were a lot of regulations in the city. We knew that we had to go through the DEP at the state level, the Mass Historical group. We knew we had to apply to the FAA because when you put up a turbine as high as ours, you know there is going to be processes that you have to go through with them as well. And so the entire process was taken over and run by SED. I was in constant contact with them on an everyday basis. They were at every meeting that we held. They were at every public hearing that we had, every public meeting. We started by having an open forum at our school, and I invited all of our abutters, the abutters to the abutters, every civic organization in our area that I could locate, all the city officials, state officials, and anyone else I could think of to come and listen to what we had planned, because we did not want it to be a surprise to anyone. That meeting was very, very well attended. Many of our neighbors came, they asked questions. Our consultant was there, provided all the answers people needed. The concerns that people generally have about wind turbines revolve around sound. He answered all of those questions, even agreeing to do a sound test on anybody's home that was near where our school is located. Birds, and statistically, 1.2 birds a year are killed by wind turbines, and I tell people that my cat brings home, unfortunately, more than that in the course of a year. And they also were concerned about the amount of traffic that would be involved in the project. Well, if you've driven around Worcester, I'm sure you've seen our turbine. At some point, you can see its towers and its blades going around. But we are somewhat isolated. We have almost 50 acres up off Granite Street, and so we are accessible from Route 20 across Granite Street. So there was not going to be a lot of traffic that impacted the people. But people received all the answers. They were very, very comfortable with what was going on the Hill.